Good evening, everyone. I am Chandan Manasani, second year BTech Chemical Engineering. Today I will be hosting the session. So, first of all, I would like to grandly and heartily welcome you all for this exclusive talk. And also, first of all, I need to say thank you all for attending this session. And also, special thanks to Prakash Garu for accepting our talk to give a talk. So, I would like to present a thank you card for Prakash Garu, Prakash sir, from Top Gratitude team.
Thank you very much.
We truly express our gratitude for accepting our invitation and taking your precious time to attend, sir.
I'm most equally thankful to all of you. I will be sharing whatever I know, which may be useful to you. If there are things which may not be useful to you, please ignore. Okay?
Sure, sir.
Thank you very much for your time and your efforts.
Okay, sir. Let me start the session with an invocation by Apurva.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Prakash sir, for accepting our invitation. Here is our invocation. This is who we are. We are a team, talented, energetic, astonishing mindsets. We can do anything and everything. We talk, we care, we respect each other. We see beauty in everyone. We are connected by hearts and driven by values. We celebrate each other. We provide value to others. We take ownership in everything we do. We have freedom to make mistakes. We learn as we go. We are mad to make a difference. We love disruptive ideas. We make impossible things possible. We are strong to question the creation. We believe in dreaming big. If we do not dare to dream big, are we really living? Why be ordinary when we can be extraordinary? This is who we are. Thank you. By Shivani Kshirsagar.
Thank you, Apurva. Now, let me introduce about our top speaker, Prakash Garu, to all of you. VV Prakash sir, Managing Director of Crest Engineering Technologies. Sir has over 23 years of experience in process design, technology, engineering, and operation of process plants. Sir successfully designed and optimized the world's largest separation unit for South Africa coal gasification for synfuels. He also designed and cryogenic liquid handling facilities for ISRO's second launch pad as a part of proposal development for Air Liquide. He is a leader for several workshops like ESID, ESO, LOPA, and etc. for oil and gas clients in Southeast region. Sir also led 26 ASU projects covering internal compression cycles and air liquid plants. Sir is proportional technical lead and solution development in new thermodynamic cycles, CAPEX and OPEX, optimization and standard plans. There is much to tell about the sir. He has spectacular accomplishments. It may take me a long time to explain all the accomplishments, so I will be confining with it and jumping into the next part of the session. Sir, before we are going to ask your questions, can you do you want to share or anything with us? We would be happy to listen all the things from you.
Okay. So I have not prepared any slide. All of you, good evening, Chandan, and also a very good invitation written by Ms. Vani. Okay, so I have not prepared any presentation because I thought you will be asking many questions, so I was very much anxious whether I will be able to answer your questions or not. Okay, so but I have also kept consolidated. I had several mentors in my life, so I have kept handy several advices each mentor has given, which have made my life this far. Okay. And then I was expecting some questions on career planning and everything. So I kept some graphs, which I thought that will be discussed at the end of the session. Okay. After that, one of my earlier bosses have told me about how to evaluate when you come to jobs and careers, when you become managers and leaders, how you are going to analyze your team members by a 4-quadrant method, which I will show at the end of the day. Okay, so that is what I have planned. Coming to a very brief summary. Yes, I started as a chemical engineer I wanted to be in the technology development for a long time. I was willing to work for only one company for all my life, but the life had many twists. So I have taken life as it came, and two things I am very much grateful to. That is, one is I owe all my success to my God. So I am a staunch believer in God and divinity. Okay. And then whoever I worked with, great managers, great mentors, so they are the ones who are responsible for, if there is any success, I owe to God and my mentors. If there are any failures or wrong things, they are to my account. And there are a lot of things to achieve more in life. Okay? So that is very simple, brief introduction about myself. I am very sure each one of you will reach much heights. So I will be very happy to share my experiences based on your questions. Be free to ask any type of question. I will tell whatever I know.
Thank you very much, sir, for taking a step ahead to say all of our answering all of our questions. So let me ask you a question. My first question is, what is your company and how it works? What is the aim or visions of your company? And what is the aim or vision on your company?
Perfect. So I will tell you briefly. So our company is started as a services company. We have three various services. One is engineering services. Second one is consulting services. Third one is technology services. Okay. So the vision of the company is to develop few technologies in the next few years. Okay. So all the technologies will be relating to chemical manufacturing or hydrogen or defense process. So developing technology is a very long term, it happen over a long term, so it is not very easy. So I have kept three steps. One is engineering services. So we do process engineering services and safety studies for oil and gas, all the chemical industry. So this is what is more important, to have regular revenue as well as to have base level of technical staff. Okay. Once engineering services are going regularly, we will do some high-level consulting services, that is energy optimization, process optimization in the process industry. So which we call as consulting services. So the best people in the engineering services will come to the consulting, wherein we are adding value to the end clients. So out of these two areas, out of these engineering service and consulting services, the best talent will come towards technology development. So in the technology development, it will take very long time to win technology development projects. We won very recently from DRDL, that is Advanced Naval Systems Program, which are into the naval systems, part of Defense Research and Development Laboratories. Okay, and another big project is going to come. So whoever are good in engineering and consulting services, the technical staff will move into technology development. And finally, there will be a core team who will be developing technology supported by the engineering and consulting teams. Okay. So the vision is at least to develop 3 to 4 different technologies in the process industry, which have a long-term value. So this is the vision of the company. And we want to, whoever comes, this is a small company, whoever comes, they have to become business leaders. And it is a good foundation for those people who wants to become business leaders here. So this is the broad vision and the planning in starting this company and growing this company. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for letting us know about your company. So my next question is, what is the future of chemical engineering, and how could you say that it's sustained for many long years? And
okay, so chemical engineering, as you know, process industry is very big in terms of value. If you can say, overall global chemical industry is more than $2 trillion. I think this is more or less an estimation, because I was doing worldwide chemical industry studies since 2004. So it's a very big industry. It will have again a lot of segmentation into basic chemicals, metallurgy, oil and gas, chemicals, specialty chemicals and everything. So it's a very vast industry. The biggest is the Reliance Industries. It's the major chemical industry in India, led by a chemical engineer only, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, who is from UDCT, Bombay. Okay, so there are thousands of processes going on in Reliance Industries, and the Gujarat or Maharashtra. These are the areas where there is where there are many chemical industries, and you see people in various roles, starting from designing of plants, operations of plants, research and development, industrial development, and everything. Yes, with Mr. Chandan, we are also developing, Chandan is developing various roles of chemical engineers in various industries. So he will be present soon. There is a big matrix wherein you are having various industries like oil and gas, chemicals, textiles, paints, metallurgy, and everything, and various roles for chemical engineers like purely design consultants, EPC companies, operating companies, and R&D companies. So he is going to present to you a big
on Wednesday
and a big matrix and the elaboration of roles and responsibilities when you choose an industry and particular role. How you can grow and become a business leader within 15 years. Okay. So from there, that will be a good beginning. So because you are doing BTech chemical engineering for 4 years, which becomes a very good foundation for your entire career of 30 years. Everyone has a career of at least 30 years. So by 15 years, if you want to become business leaders, you can plan and become business leaders within 15 years. Or if you want to go very deep into the technology or technical career. So several companies, the first company which is a paradise for chemical engineers is Shell. So Shell is the one which is the Royal Dutch Shell group of companies, is the most respected, most honorable company in the world for in the field of process industry. So what they say is that they have started a career called as management career and a technical career. Okay, so people who wants to really become business leaders, you can plan and become business leaders in the chemical industry, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is services, R&D, or anything. Or you can stay in the technical career and go very deep into research and development. Research and development can be fundamental R&D or industrial R&D. Okay, so there is a scope for fundamental R&D as well as industrial R&D. So when you work for the same company for a very long time, you are going to first you will know the all areas of business of that company, and you will learn also different skills, and you will be trusted to give much more complex opportunities while you develop in the career. Okay, so that is very huge for chemical engineers, because another point I want to tell you is there are multiple variables. If you read your subjects, for example, you have many subjects wherein you are dealing multiple variables. Okay, and when you go into plants, when you design or operate large scale plants, you are going to control multiple variables. So same is the case in life or business. Okay, when you are heading businesses, there will be multiple variables. So you are being trained to handle multiple variables, to know the interdependencies of the multiple variables in your chemical engineering subjects. So that will become very handy when you operate plants, when you manage people, when you lead different businesses in your future. Okay, so that is what I want to say. So a very successful 30-year career in engineering.
Thank you so much, sir. We got a lot of information from your answer. Very happy for that. And now, okay, let me ask another question, sir. What are the main myths as a chemical engineer will think about entrepreneurship?
So first is what I want to say to you, to all youngsters, is that if you have a compelling reason for you to choose chemical engineering, okay, means you are spending 4 years. I don't see any reason why people are going towards software jobs. Okay, so that is for you to sort it out. Okay, and we are not going to go into details. Okay, so you are making a 4-year foundation for your career. That is why you have chosen BA Chemical Engineering. Then you have to build career so that you are not going into very uncertain area. Okay, so that is the first point. Second point, in my opinion, you can become an entrepreneur or you can become a business leader in your chosen industrial sector or a chosen company. Okay. First, you should have a clarity of why you want to become an entrepreneur. To make money, or to create things, or to provide employment, or to invent something, or become people like Steve Jobs or someone who are developing greatest products. Okay. So that clarity everyone should have for themselves. First point. Okay. So why I became an entrepreneur is that I never wanted to become a business. I am a business leader, but I wanted to have a technical career only. Okay. Out of compulsion, I have kept this company, but the main important thing is to develop technologies. So wealth will come automatically, but the main objective is to build superior technologies, taking European way of thinking and European value system as a basis. That's the first point. Second point, what are the myths? Okay, so several of since last 7 years at least, whenever I thought of starting the company, my first company is a total fail. Just 6 months we have to close. Okay, why? Why is that? Just because you have a skill, you can't start a business. Okay, you need to have all functionalities before you start a company. There should be a sales plan and everything. Okay, so most of the myths I hear is out of 100 companies being started, 98% close within 1 or 2 years. Okay, the first company I started, we have to close within November 2011 we started, May 2012 we closed it. 7 months. Okay, it's a disaster. So the myth is, don't start a company. So people, some of the reasons people tell is, I don't want to work for a boss. Okay, I don't want to work for a boss. Okay, so my boss is useless. My boss is very tough. So I don't want to work for a boss. So I keep a company. There are no bosses. Okay, so that is wrong. So if you are in a business, services or manufacturing, all your clients are your bosses. Initially, they will treat you, they will test you like anything. So you'll have miserable life compared to your bad boss with your clients if your time is not good. Okay. So just if you don't like a boss, don't come and start a company. First. Second myth. So if I start a company, I can go to my office at any point, at any time, whenever I like. This is the biggest mistake. Okay. Which my team members did in my first company. Okay. So if you are starting a company, be ready to work 24/7. If you are in a job, you can go to from office from 9 to 6. Okay. If you want to start a company, until it is successful, there is no time limit. So just don't start a company because I want to go to office at 11 o'clock. If I am doing a job, I have to go at 9 o'clock. Don't start a company for that. Third myth, this is from my experience I am telling you. First company I started with my own team members. Okay. They are my team members when I was working for a company. So what I thought, so there they were willing to listen everything and do whatever I say. Okay. But when I started the company with their with the equity participation from them, they thought that everyone is equal. So no one needs to hear anything. So don't, just because your friends, for example, you 4 of you are starting a company, okay? Just because your friends say you are not going to be successful, okay? So you have some comfort level. So if you are 4 friends are there, all are chemical engineers, okay? You have some experience of 10 years each, so don't go and just start a company, okay? So you should have multiple capabilities, sales and marketing, financial management, project management, general management. Have diversity in your group, okay? So to start a company, you should learn all the skills in other company before you start. You should have become a business leader before you start a company. You should have learned all the skills that are possible. For example, you want to start a services company. So you should work in a services company. You should learn all the skills of that business, then only start a services company. Okay? And whenever you and don't play with others' money. Okay? So don't think that I can take money from our parents, our friends, our banks. Okay? Then I start a company. It is not like that. You will not know the value of that money. Okay? So these are the various things based on which many businesses fail. Okay? So business is business. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you should have a plan. You should have worked in some companies. You should have gained experience. Then you should have a compelling cause, a plan, diversified people, your own vision, your own long-term vision to start a company. Okay? This is what I want to say. If someone wants to add more things, please add.
Thank you, sir. Now, I request all the participants, whoever have the questions, you can raise your hand. I will be calling you. I hope Sean sir has a very good question. Sir, could you please go on?
First of all, Prakash Garu, that was really good. The way you explained, your thoughts about entrepreneurship and about chemical engineering. So my question is, suppose say one of these students came to your company to work. How does their typical day look like when they come to the office at 9 o'clock? What do they do from 9 to evening?
Okay. So if I will take an example. Person has spent already 1 year. Means training and integration is over. Okay, they are coming. So once they come, normally we keep a very friendly atmosphere for each team member. So now his training has been completed, on-job training has been completed, and he is working on a project. So the moment he comes to the office, first we always say, come with the energy and enthusiasm, with positive thoughts. Okay? So that feeling should be there for every person. So they should not feel that, oh my God, today I have to go to office, I am not in a good shape. So this type of thing, they should come with a positive feeling first. Second, we'll have a very short planning, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Okay? We just assemble and we do a daily plan. So they will be already doing a project. So they will already have a work breakdown structure and everything. So they will have all the resources, soft, hard, everything. So we'll just have a very brief planning for 5 minutes, 2 or 3 project tasks per day. Okay. So they can go ahead into the work. If they want some guidance, we'll give the guidance. We'll see that they have all the resources to perform the task. Okay. So straight away they go into their planned task. At 11 o'clock we have a coffee break. All of us we assemble. No more levels and everything. We just spend 10 to 15 minutes talking all the normal things. Again they go back to work and there will be a lunch break. Everyone will have their relaxed lunch break. Okay. So afternoon, again there will be afternoon break. So from 9 to 6, they can come and ask any question. First, they should enjoy the work. They should feel they should know the importance of the project task they are doing. If they have completed their work, they will go for review with their next level. And if they if they have reached 100%, they will come for my review. Okay. So at the end of the day, another 5 minutes, they will just tell with their superiors what they have done, and they will go happily. They need not take any work back home. So 90% of the time they work 9 to 6, especially for girls. For boys, if they are willing to work hard and more, we'll give them task after task. Okay. And Saturday afternoon, they can relax. They can just relax. They can play games, and they can read books, and they can just plan or review what they have done for the whole week. First thing is, this is your own company. Come and work as if it is your own company. Everything should be positive talks. Okay. You deliver quality. Once you enjoy work and you have good guidance, quality will come automatically. But for quality, you follow each procedure. Whatever you do, you have to document it. You have to document it. So first project, if you are given first project, at least you reach 60 to 70%. Second project, you go up to 90%. Third project, you are at 100% there. From there, you start sharing your knowledge to others. Okay. So this is how a typical project engineer works in our team.
Thank you, Prakash Garu. I want to rephrase my question. First of all, I want to ask you much more specific. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So when I used to work for Oracle, I go to work, I look through my emails, and then I start looking at customer issues. And the customer issues are based on the product I'm supporting, which is like, say, real applications. So I need to know what my real applications cluster knowledge is, and then I go and do it. And as soon as I see the problem, I immediately take notes saying, what is the problem? So I usually write down, what is this person asking? What is the question? Was it working before? Was it not working before? Was it a new problem? Or was it working before and suddenly it changed? So what are the changes she made? So I start writing all of that, and then I put, then I review, because I know the technology, I ask questions or I go and read further. And then usually within an hour, I should be either able to answer it, or I'll ask further questions to get more information from the customer. So that's how my day is. So if a chemical engineer came and they are like already 1 year into the program, they already know they are trained into the processes of CREST technologies. So what is their work? How do they work? How do they think?
Perfect. So I will again come back specifically to your answers. Okay. So after 1 year, at least they will be doing 1 or 2 projects. So each project can be around 2 months duration. So I will take example of 2 projects. One is a safety study. So that is a quantitative risk assessment of a oil and gas installation. So QRA will be done using a software called as FAST. Okay. So out of which they will have 30% software modeling work. Remaining 70% will be a mixture of calculations for which you will have a clear work instruction will be there. Okay. And there will be a report writing. So a QRA for a simple chemical facility, or let's take a chemical warehouse which is storing say around 1,000 chemicals. Okay, it will be 2 months duration. So there will be a work breakdown structure will be there. There will be a consequence modeling, that is modeling of a fire or explosion, or there will be frequency calculations, and finally everything will go into a report. So this is a 2 months work. In 2 months work, an engineer with 1 year experience will do 60 to 70% with the guidance of a senior engineer. So every day he comes, he will sit with his senior engineer, he will have a 2 months work plan, he will also have a daily plan. So daily plan, today I am going to do consequence modeling of say 10 chemicals. So this will extend for tomorrow also. So in the morning, you have a software, you have a senior engineer who is going to guide you, and you know the chemicals, and you have the software. So you know how many hours you are going to take to complete the consequence modeling of this warehouse. So he will complete 8 hours. At the end of the day, he will, in the meanwhile, if he has any doubts, he has any questions, he is free to ask to senior engineer or the principal consultant. Okay. At the end of the day, he will report the progress and leave. Like that, he will work. So that is one kind of a project. Another kind of a project is optimization of an air separation unit. So there will be several air separation units. So again, we want to do without capex, without any capital expenditure, for the same feed, we want to produce 5% more production for a real plant. In steel plants or a petrochemical plants or a refinery or a gasification plant. So again, this is you have a 3-layer structure. An engineer will be guided by a senior engineer, will be finally guided by a principal consultant. Okay. So again, this is a 2 months job. So what is he going to do? So broadly, it is a 2 months job. He will take all the information from the plant. There is a proposal based on which a project is awarded to Crest. So in the project, there is a methodology. So he or she will be clearly explained about the methodology of how to do. That is done in Aspen HYSYS. So we will give an equation of state, which is developed here. We will give them all the tools. So again, you have 30% of modeling work, simulation work, and then results extraction, presentation of the results. Okay. So if he is in the beginning of the project, he is making a basis. 8 hours, he will make a basis. So this is how I am going to do each and every task. For every task, there is number of hours allocated, there is a methodology, there is a tool, or there is a reference report. So he will check whether he has all those things, and he completes a daily task and reviews with his senior at the end of the day. So review by senior is almost a daily affair. Review may take for 5 to 10 minutes, or it may go up to 2 hours based on the task easy. So it is, each project will have a duration, and a daily plan will be there. Daily plan will be reviewed by the senior engineer, and at the end of the day, he has to report how much work has been done. It can be modeling, it can be simulation, it can be results extraction, results interpretation, and then keeping all those things in a report at various stages of the project. So he will go with a particular method, work instruction and a review with them. And he will document his learnings in his own training file and in the normal work instruction file. Did I answer your question a little bit in detail?
Yeah, absolutely. You did. So now let us take it a little more further. So now we can see that the way you have been telling, there are two things which I see. One is writing. So writing is very important. And then this, because you have to write a report. Yes, you can copy and paste, but still you have to, know how to write the sentences, so that way the information is communicated properly to the clients. So that's one. So writing skills, everyone has to improve. I still try to improve. Second thing is you're talking about software modeling. So finally looks like some kind of software some kind of modeling software is going to get utilized in almost every project which you're doing. Is that true? Because you mentioned both projects, you said software modeling.
Yes, 70% of the projects will have software modeling, either risk modeling or process simulations. And we also have a lot of Excel-based tools for equipment sizing, energy calculations, pipe sizing, vessel sizing, all those calculations. They are separate again.
Yeah, those are like macros, Kada.
Mostly on the commercial software and some on the developer tools.
Perfect. That's, thank you very much for answering all my questions. I'm basically asking questions from your side. I was thinking if I was your age, what questions would I want to ask? So that's why I started asking all those questions. So that was really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We got to know many things. How was the day in your company, and what are the things that has to be done in your company? Now, let me. Okay, Vivekta has a question. So, could you please go, Vivekta?
Thank you, Chandanana. Prakash sir, the things which you have told are really amazing. They are literally giving me goosebumps. So I have two questions. My first question is, I just graduated and I want to set up a company. So, is it according to you, is it a good option?
So, I don't want to discourage you. I don't want to talk negatively. Normally, I am trained in Europe. So normally, what they say is, yes, if your family already has a business, okay, or if you already have a platform in which you are responsible to start a to know and operate that company, yes, you can go and take care of your family business and go ahead. Or if your family is giving you an investment, you can start a company. Okay, or else, even if it is in your family company is there, it is better to start with all the basic skills. Wherever you want to start a business, so you have to understand all the skills that are required. Learn them as quickly as possible. If you have a burning desire to keep at very early stage, you have to learn all the skills required to manage that business effectively and then start a business. But finally, why you want to start a business on the first day? So these questions you have to ask yourself. To make money or to do what? Okay. Then the question is, do I have those skills? Do I have the resources? Do I have the people? Do I have the money to do that? So all these questions you have to ask yourself. Okay. I don't know whether I have answered your question, but you have to answer, start with why. Why you want to start a company? Okay. Once you start with that, you will get answers by yourself. But in my opinion, if you are a first generation entrepreneur, if you have the dreams to become a first generation entrepreneur, you should have a clarity in where you want to start a business, do a research, know the skills, then start a business. Failures will come along, but failures will teach more lessons than the success. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was really helpful. My second question is, can we set up a virtual platform or a virtual startup business kind of thing, wherein there is zero investment and it is completely related to technical stuff?
Okay, again a difficult question. I will try to answer with whatever knowledge I have. Okay. So in the chemical engineering, I am purely going from a chemical engineering perspective. So what kind of business, what kind of companies? Okay, first there are design and engineering services. So services, manufacturing, R&D,
EPC.
And EPC. Okay. So EPC operating companies, they're all investment oriented. You should have money. You should have a project feasibility report. You should know the economics. You are producing a product. You should know the break-even point and everything before you even think about investment. Okay. Then finally, you have services. Professional engineering services. For example, I know some people who did after chemical engineering, who did some masters in safety studies. Okay. They started on their own from the first day onwards. Okay. So I am going to perform safety studies for chemical industry because I have the formal education in there. So similarly, if you want to be a consultant for a company, okay, if you are good in heat transfer, for example, you can find out a company who makes heat exchangers, and you can think that I can offer a wonderful solutions for them. So you can approach that company, say that I am very good in heat transfer. Okay, I have my own company, so I will tell you how to optimize your heat exchanger design. So there is already a marketing part in it. So you have a technical capability, but you have to go and meet several people to market your own capability. But before that, you also have to test yourself, do I have marketing capability? So just having a capability in heat exchanger design doesn't make you successful in your company. Okay. So first you should go and you should have a basic skill, should be able to go and market your service, and eventually positively if some of people gives you orders, then you should know you should be able to cost your services. You can't optimize a heat exchanger for 1 year. Okay, you should be able to optimize your heat exchanger say within 1 week. And you should be able to know the cost of your efforts. You are able to make that proposal to your prospective customer, and you should also get paid for that. So you should have planning, you should have some basic infrastructure, okay, all these things. So wherever you want to keep a thing, know what are all the components which are required, even for as a professional engineer or a certified engineer. Okay. So 80% is your technical capability, but you should also have networking, marketing. If there are purchase orders you are going to receive, you should know at least some legal points. And at least you should be paid for your service.
Okay.
Manufacturing and other things are much bigger games.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
That's what I know. Okay.
No, sir, you have answered very wonderfully. Okay, sir. Deepak, could you please go on with your question?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Deepak.
So my question is, previously you said that you started up a company and it ended up being closed in the first 6 months.
Yes.
So may I know what's the idea behind the starting that company and how exactly it failed?
Okay. So after I worked for 12 years in one company, the company has left Hyderabad. So I worked with another startup for 2 years. So in that company, I was given a mandate to develop oil and gas services, oil and gas engineering services, develop technology partnerships with gasification companies, renewable energy companies, and emerging technologies. So this is the mandate which was given to me in 2009 September when I joined this startup company. Okay. So in 2 years there was not much progress. Means I did not see, even though I did a lot of market research and market survey of how to build this engineering services in the company, nothing much has moved in 2 years. Okay. So the company was not seeing a value in what I have proposed to develop engineering services, develop technology partnerships in renewable energy, develop technology partnerships in gasification. So I am only a head of engineering, but there was not these ideas were not fully embraced by the sales and marketing persons of the company or the management of the company. So there was no hope for me. Okay. But I was convinced that there is a value in these areas. So let me start my own company. Okay. So that is the basis of starting a company. So why it failed? So when I started a company, I thought, okay, some 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs is sufficient. I have the technical capabilities to do engineering services to start with. So that is less investment. I can win projects and execute projects and generate money and reinvest that money. Okay. Then I need people. So I took 3 or 4 people who were part of my team members. I was the manager and they were my team members, thinking that if my earlier team members are going to come and work in this company, first we'll be able to do, there will be a good understanding and there will be good progress. Okay. So that point is wrong. Okay. Just because you worked with some team members, you had some team members in your earlier company, when you start a company with them, they will not have the same commitment because the scale of the earlier company is much big. This is a much smaller company. So the peoples will have different expectations. This is the first failure. Second failure, we did not have sales and marketing competence. We thought we are very good. I am an expert in process technology, so I can create a services company. That is wrong. So that we understood after 6 months. So we thought that by creating a company, by creating a website, by knowing several people in the industry earlier, orders will flow automatically. It won't flow. You need to have a 100% sales and marketing team, or you should have that 100% sales and marketing capability. Okay? So these are the two reasons on which the company has failed without making even 1 rupee. Our expenses was 30 lakhs. Okay? So no. So these are the reasons for me to start a company and fail miserably.
Okay. Sir, now that you have a successful company running, I mean, apart from the things that you stated in the failures, are there any other things which you wish you knew before starting up a company?
No, first of all, as I said, I never wanted to start a company. I wanted to work for a technology company. Okay. So here, my case is unique. Okay. So here, the services company has failed. So then I went and learned sales and marketing skills, understood the financial control skills. Then I have started another company. Okay. So here, what I suggest now is, what I learned from this company is we should have 100% sales and marketing team in place from the first day onwards. So that is the engine. First. Second thing, yes, you should have a technical team, project execution team and everything. But you should also have from the first day a financial control team. So normally all startups are doing, they keep the core skills with them, and they are taking services from financial services. They are offloading, outsourcing financial services, HR services, sales services. Somehow it did not work for our company. So first thing is we should have 100% sales and marketing team, and there should be 100% financial control team from day one. So if some of you will start companies in future, just because of your technical skills or project management skills, don't go into the okay. You should have a diversified team. You should have a lot of advisory team with you who will guide you through company setup and initial years. And failures will give more lessons than success. Okay. So learned several lessons in managing business, and still lot of lessons to learn.
Thank you, sir. It's a great advice for all of us who need to start a startup. It looks like Shivani Akka has a question. Akka, could you please go on?
Hello, sir. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. So I have a question for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said that you started your company on European basis. So what is that, sir? How do you get to know about that?
Okay, so when I started my career, there was some big resolutions I have taken. So I thought I will work for 15 hours per day. Okay, way back in 1997. Okay, so when I started my career, there were very less bosses were very strict. Okay. So there is no internet, there are no cell phones, bosses are very strict. So we don't know when we lose our jobs also. Okay, so it was a very tough time in the chemical industry. So within 2 to 3 years, I thought when I saw all these things, I thought I will not become this kind of a manager. I will keep a good team wherever I work, and I will not give this type of experience to my team members. This is the first resolution I took from 97 to 2000. In 2000, I was selected for a very big role in France. Okay, that is the first time I went to France, Europe. So in Europe, everything is a system. Okay, so here companies are driven by people. In Europe, companies are driven by systems. Okay, so everything is very systematic. Training and integration, execution of project, documenting the lessons learned, process and methodology, sharing that knowledge with others, learning other skill. So in Europe, whenever I went into Europe, I saw that every guy, every engineer, every person at 14 to 16 years, by 14 to 16 years, they have a plan for next 30 years. They have a plan for their life. Okay? They choose their company, the industrial sector, the company after a lot of homework. Okay? So by the time they complete their bachelor's degree, they have a 30-year plan. And the companies who are also taking them wants to make them business leaders or technical leaders within 12 to 15 years. Okay? So at the end of this session, I am going to show some career graphs, how the European companies develop business leaders from the graduates. Every person, if there is a value for human life, and their bachelor's degree, they only study from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and they do internships during their final years of things, and they will get inducted into those companies. So everything is a systems-based business. Okay? So people will come into company, become business leaders, flourish in those companies will grow. Okay? So they are all system-driven. They are not people-driven like in India or Asia. So within 3 years, I went to Europe. I understood this model and started, when I came back to India, I started to implement this model to the extent possible.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Nikhilamna, you can go on with your question. Hope you have a good question.
Thank you, Chandan. Firstly, thank you for accepting our invitation and coming forward to say, like Vivita mentioned, we really got goosebumps with your way of explaining answers. So basically, I have three different questions. So firstly, I will tell the two things, sir. One is that you mentioned that in the technology marketing, in your profile, I saw that you mentioned about the technology marketing and for in the future energy, basically solar and hydrogen generation. And the other thing is, in the technology development, you mentioned about the AI and ML applications into the industry. So, and also I heard that you mentioned about in the vision you concentrate on hydrogen. Can I know how you got to know that about, like, why you feel that is the area where the future is, and also what are your action plans, if we can know, or about them, those two.
So you want me to answer the question about hydrogen first?
Yes.
Okay. So hydrogen technology, if you know the hydrogen, there are three different ways of producing hydrogen. Two basic ways. One is from natural gas by steam methane reforming, and the other one is from electrolysis of water. Okay. So the hydrogen industry is there since the refining is there. So since 1950 it is there. So I was fortunate to work with Air Liquide, which is a pioneer in hydrogen. So whatever hydrogen technologies we are talking now are prevalent since 1990. Okay. So I came to know that several technologies are under development, patenting, and kept for further development since 2000 at least. So at least Europe and US are having all the technologies for hydrogen generation, hydrogen storage, and fuel cells since last 30 years. They are not into the open space yet. Okay, so they have, before 20 years itself, they have all the patents. They will be continuously ahead even now. So means if we are in 2020, whatever is coming into the market, already there is 20 years history in that. And the European guys and US companies are at least thinking 20 years ahead. Okay, 20 years ahead. Okay, so I was exposed to this generation and storage and usage of fuel cells. First point. Second point, so first, all these big technologies needs government support. So if you take, for example, renewables, solar energy or the gasification, which are the path-breaking technologies in 1990s and 2000, they require government support. So they will not be commercialized. No one is going to buy this technology. No company is going to buy this technology and invest on a plant. Okay. First, government support. Subsidies or government spending. Okay. So in government spending, European Union is the first. Like most prominent companies are France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. So any technologies developed in European Union, these governments give the first investments they support at least up to 10 to 15 years. Okay, so the projects will be built, they will be operated, they will become profitable. Then only actual private investors will come for investment. Okay, then so you have a government, and in US, for example, California is a state where a lot of government support will be there for path-breaking technologies. So all these things will evolve, the mobility, and the China is the one who will make, once the technologies are successful, China is the one who will really scale up in no time. So if you see, for the hydrogen things to become successful, European Union is the front driver, their governments are the front driver. US also will have equally ambitious plans, like in Elon Musk or any hydrogen companies. And China is the one who will develop the market in scale. All others will follow. So did I answer your question appropriately? Or?
Yes, sir. And like you mentioned, how Crest is having that thought or looking at it.
No, as Crest, we will remain a small to mid-sized company only, up to 50 people, which is totally concentrated on the thing. So we are already talking about. We are already trying to tie up with some European companies. We want to be a technology contractor. Means if there is an electrolyzer is going to be developed 10 times of the current scale. We want to be a technology partner in the development cycle with a chosen company. That's all. We will not go into commercialization of products or building an EPC company or anything. We totally a knowledge-based company in fundamental research or industrial R&D. That's all. That is the only vision of Crest.
Yes, sir. I got it. And the second one is like AI or ML applications into industrial sector.
Yes. AI and IoT are there since very long time. If you see the big industries which are being run by PLCs, DCS and everything, so they are there in the industry, they are since long time. Okay. So now it's only a repackaging of the things. Okay. So now it is connectivity is going to be much more. First point. Second point, the mathematical capability of the simulation of the, for example, you take a refinery, you will have almost 100,000, 1 lakh different instruments. These instruments are recording every second data. So there is huge amount of data which needs to be assessed for optimizing those plants, giving the products and scaling up. So ML comes in analyzing the huge amount of data in lot of refineries, LNG plants, gas processing plants and everything. That's why Shell and ExxonMobil have their technology centers in Bangalore, where they are analyzing huge amount of big data concerning their operating plants. Coming to AI, it is more for process control, remote operations and bringing total automation into the plant operation. For example, in 2000 itself, from Brazil, we used to operate several plants located in Italy, Spain, France, Portugal, Germany, etc. So it is there since long time. But now the connectivity has increased. Now the same data will come onto your alerts, will come onto your mobile phones. Okay, so the plants can be automatically started or shut down. Okay, and you can operate the plants remotely. Okay, so Crest has already given option to people to remotely operate very big plants of Reliance or anything if they trust us. So if you see, There are Infosys or several software companies. They have a lot of control centers from which they remotely supervise the plants. Okay. So AI and ML is in that area. Means from Hyderabad, we should be able to access the real-time operation of a plant and optimize in real-time conditions. That is the AI application we are targeting.
Yes. Final question, third question is, like as an engineering student in his BTech, what are the skills to be acquired to make sure he is part of these two areas?
These two areas, as you know, the subjects you have, first you should be very good in subjects. I am not talking about maths, but you should know you are spending 4 years based on which, if you are targeting AI and ML application in the chemical industry, okay, you should be very good in at least majority of your subjects. And you have already instrumentation and process control. Okay, so mathematics, you should be very good at it. You should be able to understand whichever industry you are going. For example, you are choosing a refining industry. Okay, you should be very good in mass transfer. You should be very good in instrumentation and process control. You should be good in programming. And first you should have, before jumping into AI and ML applications, you should understand the refining operations perfectly. That is the basis. After that, you should develop small programs and small applications with respect to each unit operation, so that gradually you will become very formidable force in that area. You should know the control aspects.
In the hydrogen, sir?
In hydrogen, again, you said that you have to choose. It is a green hydrogen or the hydrogen. There are hydrogen is like gold in refinery, so it is coming from natural gas. Okay, if you are going towards natural hydrogen generation from natural gas reforming, that is a very big industry. So first you should be very good in gas loss. You should be very good in absorption. You should be reforming, which are again MTO, heat transfer, fluid dynamics. All these things you should be very good at. So first, if you know the fundamentals of hydrogen generation, then only you will be able to control it. Okay. So first, you should be very good in this fundamentals of reforming, heat transfer, fluid transfer, and everything. Then you should understand the process control. Then you should go into mathematical programming. Then you will be able to develop equations or models for actually what is happening, because there will be design margins in those plants. There will be several unknown variables. You will not even after seeing, even though everything is developed, there will be lots in these gigantic plants. So if you have the fundamental knowledge, if you know the process control, if you are good in mathematics, you should be able to develop equations which predict this behavior, based on which you can continuously improve the design and operations of these plants. If it comes to electrolyzers are developing under scale. They are going to be gigawatt level electrolyzers. So the concentration of the industry is how to reduce the power consumption. Power consumption is almost 80% of hydrogen generation caused by electrolyzer. Okay, how to reduce US dollar. Now it is around $2 per kg. How to reduce it to minimum? How to the efficiency of the product. Now it is at 60 or 70%. How to make it 90%? So all these concepts will come up. So if you are choosing electrolyzers, you have to go into the design and development phase now. If you are choosing hydrogen generation by natural gas reforming, you have to again go into very big corporations to understand, and the subjects I have already explained, which subjects we look at.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Very clear.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You are explaining very well. We are getting to know enormous information through your talk. Very happy for that. Shravan sir, could you please go on with your question?
Thank you. So first thing is, I want you to lower your hands if your question has been answered, so that way Chandan knows exactly who he needs to call. Okay, thank you. So I have two questions for you. One is, we do not have good professors. Some teachers have just come out directly from after they have completed their master's or PhD, and they've just come into the teaching force. And some of them don't have the communication skills. So learning is difficult within the classroom. And the second thing is, even if we take one thermodynamics, let's just take thermodynamics. That's an ocean. You can keep on learning for 10 years and you'll still not learn everything. So how can these students know that, hey, we have learned something by which this is enough, this is good enough for us to take on the projects, this is good enough to to provide value to the company?
So I will just compare our times to current times. Okay, the same situation is there 20 years ago also. Probably at least some better professors used to be there. But if we have fire inside, all the time we'll spend, first we have to choose which industrial sector we are going to be and which subjects we should be. At least we will not be experts in all subjects, but at least some subjects which are important for industry, we'll know by the time we are in the. So professors are not there. So it is a do or die situation. So we have to spend more time. We have to go to industries. We have to go to seniors. We have to do self-study. Okay. So that was the situation earlier. We were also in totally dark. During our times, even when you join a company, your seniors will not tell you anything. Come to the current situation. You have information. You have total information now. Whatever is there in the libraries, where we have 2 books that are available on any subject in our times, now you have 200 books. First, you have YouTube, you have Google, you have connectivity with everyone. Okay, so I tell only one thing to if you are interested, you can make it. First, this 4 years is your foundation to your career. This foundation, as Mr. Sravangari is doing a wonderful job to make you great people, use 50% of your time on each and every subject, because this is the foundation for you. Okay, to one of my team members I tell, okay, he is not very good technically. Okay, I ask him, if I ask you about your cell phone, your mobile phone, or the car, the very recent car, you will tell everything. Okay, because you have interest in that. So if you get an iPhone 12, you will know within half an hour you can tell all the features better than Tim Cook. If you have a Tata car which you have recently bought and show to all your friends, you will explain everything about engine, transmission, fuel efficiency, everything you will tell. Means if you think that it is my do or die situation, okay, you have more resources on your hand compared to 20 years ago. Okay, only thing is that you need to use time and do focus, and you will become masters. No doubt about it. Yes, good that if lecturers are good, it's good. But I am not going to end my life in a mediocre way just because my professors are not teaching me. Have this attitude. So you can tell anything about your fashions, whatever clothing, cell phones, cars, movies, or anything, because your interest is there. But if you decide, I want to be the best in thermodynamics without any lecturer, you have all the resources on hand. The only thing is that you have to make use of the time. You are already bright students. Whoever I see in ESL are already bright students. They have all the resources. Only they need to use the time, focus, and unit. That's all. I don't see any big problem.
So thank you very much. That is really good, because I was pretty much studying by myself. I used to go to the library as soon as college was done. I was immediately at the library and I was studying because my goal was I didn't want to be poor. That was the only goal I had. I was so tired of being poor. I said, I'll do anything and everything to get out of this poverty and make sure I have a good life. So I just studied and studied because that was the only way out for me.
Yes.
So now the question which I have is, you really said something, there were only 2 books for us. Now they have 200 books. So we had the opportunity to learn all the 2 books. I mean, I read all the 2 books 10 times maybe. I probably did all the problems 10 times also. And I tried to do each problem in 10 different ways, trying to figure out how can I do it faster and everything. But now these kids have 200 books. How are they going to know? They can't learn 200 books, obviously. So how do they learn?
Perfect. So first point is, yes, they have this connectivity. You have made a great platform. They have mentors now. So they have mentors from 20 years, 30 years. They can give guidance. First point. Second point, now there is a overflow of information. Information is not knowledge. Information is not knowledge. Okay. So you have more information. You have to bring in time factor. Okay. So a project should be completed in time. Your mastery of any subject should be linked with time. Okay, I have 200 books. Okay. So that will also give you what are the best 2 books are. Okay. So again, there is an element of trial and error, but you have to say, okay, for mastering distillation, I am only keeping 30 hours. So I am not going to study 200 books on distillation. Okay. First, I will go and ask my mentors who are good in distillation, which books to study. First point. Second point, with the same Google, tell me top 3 books on distillation. At least we have to believe on that now, because Google is a source for 200 books also. So I will say top 3 books on distillation, and I am going to take only 40 hours. That's all. So this laser sharp focus should be there. Yes, you can study 200 books on distillation. After two years also, you don't know what is reflux and what is condensate. You are so overwhelmed with information. And apply that. Distillation I am learning for 40 hours to apply on a real-time problem. Take a real-time problem, work backwards. Then you will save time. Don't learn for distillation for sake of distillation. So I am not good in chemical reaction engineering. I am in unit operations. So I have to solve industry problems. I have to work backwards. So I loved chemical reaction engineering, but today there is no scope for chemical reaction engineering. So I don't waste my time on that.
So now you mentioned about how take a problem and go backwards and learn, right? So can you give students some of the problems which you have solved? You don't have to give data to us. You don't have to give, if the data is publicly available, then yeah, you can give it to us. But can you give students some of the problems which you have solved within your company? So that way the students can say, hey, this is the problem, how do we solve it?
Yes, certainly. Certainly. Any number of problems from my 24-year career, I can give any number of problems.
So do you think by the end of this month we can get 1 or 2 problems from you?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Chandan, just we will plan and which subject you want, you tell us. Or else if you want any type of problem, I can give that also.
In any problem which you think is important for the students to learn, based on what is important in the current, at CREST and in the current society. So that way they will go and take the problem and they'll start using their fundamental, they'll say, okay, what fundamental knowledge do I need to learn? And they'll learn that fundamental knowledge to solve that problem. And we'll try to form groups or something like that where first year, second years, third years, and fourth years can sit together. And see, now sitting together is very easy because they just have to sit in their homes and just connect. So the parents are happy and, we can make all of these connections happen quickly. So this is really good. Thank you very much for answering all my questions.
Very glad, sir, having great conversations here. I would ask Apurva to go with her question.
First of all, thank you. The conversation is getting interesting as the time passes. And I have this question. You were telling about this European system, right? So, what were the methods or techniques you opted from European systems while you were establishing your company, and how did you apply them? I mean, did you apply them as they are, or you made any changes to them, because the situation in India and in Europe is different, right?
Yes. So coming to the European system, everything is okay. I just want to show one graph. Okay, I kept it for career graph, but I will explain how the system works broader. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the graph I learned in my first year in Europe. Okay. Any company, whether our own company or we are in one company, so the career graph starts like this. Okay. Are you able to see?
Yes.
Okay. On the x-axis, you have number of years: 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Okay. So whenever you join a company, you have a clear role given in the company. So first year, you will be trained and integrated. Second year, you are doing multiple projects. Third year, you have to share with four people your skill. So this skill then can be any basic skill, technical or project engineering or a sales and marketing. So then after 3 years, you go to next skill. Again, you start from zero. You learn a totally new skill in the first year. Second year, you will excel. Third year, you are going to make another 4 people. So these 4 people, if the chain is not broken, so I'm not talking about India where people change jobs too often, but in Europe or Japan or all these developed countries, people will stay in one company for their life. Okay. So in the 6th year, you are already having 4 into 4, 16 people who are working in 2 different skills. So you are bringing 16 plus 1, 17 people's contribution to the company. Then after 6th year, you are again going to another skill which is important for company management. Again the same repeat. First year you learn the skill, second year you will excel, third year you are guiding 4 into 16 people in 3 different skills of the company's business. Like that, within 12 to 15 years you are going to become a CEO of a business unit of a company, or you have all the skills and you have money, you can start a company of your own. Okay, so this is European system wherein they will develop business leaders. Okay, so in Crest also, even though it's a small company, so we thought we know there are 5 divisions. Okay, you have technical, you have sales and marketing, the same technical people will do project management, and there will be operations which covers HR, finance, everything. Okay. So this is a small company. We don't keep all the systems and procedures there. So you have an ISO quality system which is mandatory for every company. So here we make only single page instructions. For every process, for every activity, for every department, there will be few work instructions, methodologies done in a single page. If it is a big company, it will be multiple pages. For small company, we cover in single page, and that single page procedure will go for everyone within each department. So, and we have 3-layer structure. So if one person is not available, one person is leaving, one person have an emergency, project work will not stop. So there will be at least 2 or 3 persons responsible for each task, so that there is a continuity of project task, business, as well as the uniform methodology to perform any task in any department of Crest. So this is a very light, will not have many overheads. People will have multiple skills. So people will be complementing each other in their daily activities. But system oriented. Did I answer your question fully, please?
Yes.
Did I answer your question? You were able to see the graph and my explanation. Is it clear? Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. I got it.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Ridvija, go on with your question.
Thank you, Chandan. Good evening, sir. Thank you
Good
so
evening.
much. First of all, like everyone said, it's getting interesting as the time passes. And my question is, like, what will a company expect? Like, what? Let's take Crest itself. Like, what Crest expect from a fresher who joins the Crest right after their BTech?
Okay. Normally, yes, we have a standard procedure saying that we have a basic written test and a technical interview followed by overall interview. Okay. So what we expect is at least here everything is counted in marks, but marks is a basic thing, but you should have basic logic in the interested subject. Out of chemical engineering subjects, you should have at least 70% confidence in few subjects which are important for the chemical industry. So 70% you should be strong in your technical, and more than the subject, it is your attitude which is important. Okay. So as I said, people should be Crest, we expect that at least they should be there with us for 3 years. First year, we will teach them. Second year, they will excel. Third year, they will make 3 to 4%. Okay. So then you are ready to go for other skill, or you can change your company to of your liking. So first come with a positive attitude, willing to learn and implement, be a team member, team spirit should be there, and basic knowledge. So I will tell you, I have kept a lot of my mentors' advices for you at the end of the session. One of my mentor who took me to France, he used to tell me, hire a person who is 70% knowledgeable, but who is willing to work as a team member and share his knowledge with others. Okay? Hire that type of person. Don't hire a 100% knowledgeable person, not willing to be a team member, not willing to share knowledge. Okay? So, have 70% knowledge, sufficient. But whenever you are going to a company, when you are choosing to work for a company, think long term. Always, whenever you contribute, my other bosses used to tell, be like a diamond with your attitude. If you are like a diamond, someone will keep them in their crown. Okay? You will not be left out anywhere. Did I answer your question, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Very interestingly answered, sir. Thank you.
Probably Ridvija is thinking, oh, we do all of those things at ESL, so
Yes, exactly. And we always think like long term. No, we won't make it like, how can I assist long term? How can I do?
First company think as if it is your own company.
Yes, exactly.
Company 24 years Crest is not my company. Wherever I worked from 97 October 18th, all those were my companies.
Take ownership in what we do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's so nice, sir.
Are there jobs for textile and food technology students at Crest?
Sir, no, sir.
So, Vinay, you have to create those jobs.
Most welcome.
Yes, sir.
And the sentence you have said, like, be like a diamond with your attitude. Someone will keep you in your in their crown. Like you told the same thing to Vinayana, and Vinayana and me always think about that sentence. We always try to recollect that thing. Like when you are saying that, I can. Like,
so
you totally into it.
Yes, when we start our careers, no support from top, but that is not a reason to get discouraged. Okay, do your daily work sincerely. If not today, tomorrow someone will pick you up and keep them in their crown.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Let me ask a question now. Sir, you'd be always saying that resistance will be there if you are doing a project. So always there will be resistance while we doing a project, and you have holded many you have leaded for many projects. I think you might be also face the same situation in your projects. Resistance has been, how did you handle, how did you uh, overcome the problem in your projects if there is any resistance?
Okay, so there will be many kinds of problems we face. Okay, let me take example. First, you should keep I, what you know, Nenu. You should keep I in the dustbin first if you want project success. Okay. Then, if there are people's problems, show first you have to come into the project or work with integrity. Means you know what is integrity. I need not help. If the people are problems, you should know the root cause of the problems. Really, they have a skill problem or an attitude problem or some other problem. So if you problem, they will help you to complete the project. If your own project team members are a problem, by understanding their problems, you can get their participation in your project. Okay? If other department has a problem, again, first you need to speak with them. What is the root cause of the problem? If you are unable to solve, you have to go to the boss, who is the boss for both the teams. So if you report the problem very honestly, the bosses will always see who is willing to solve the problem, who is going to create the problem. They will come with solutions. They will facilitate. Everything depends on your sincerity and commitment to the project success. If there is a client problem, okay, be humble, be sincere, explain the root cause of the problem. Every client, any fair client will understand if there is a scope problem, if there is a budget problem, or if there is a real resistance from their own teams. They will understand. Okay? So it all depends on presentation, knowing the root cause, making your own effort to solve. If nothing solves, you have to go to the top who will understand and facilitate. Okay? But you have to keep your eye in the dustbin. Keep eye in the dustbin. That's all. And I don't think 99% of the problems get solved.
Thank you, sir. Sir, it has been a long time. You have answered all our questions. We will be meeting you all the time.
If all your questions are over, I will just take 10 minutes to show a few things. Then we can close it. Okay? First, I want to show career graphs. Okay?
Sure, sir.
Okay. So career graphs, what I have been telling since 2004 in Usman University, and are you able to see my presentation? I want to show the presentation.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a normal career graph when we used to start our careers. Okay. So we choose a company without any first come first serve. Whenever we get a offer, we take it. Okay. Without having done homework on which industrial sector to choose, which company to choose. Okay. So within first 3 years, we think that everything is automatic. So we'll grow. Okay. So we grow by 10% every year. But after that, we thought that this is not the company good for us. This is not the sector good for us. So we change the job. Okay. After 3 years, again we are starting from down. Okay. So again I'm talking about normal, not ESL people, but normal general public. Okay. Now they choose another sector or another company. Again they start from zero. Okay. For another 3 years, they are again getting bored, or it is monotonous, there is no growth, I want to again change. So 6 years, they are here. So after that, the career graph goes something like this. Okay. So if they change too many times, no company management is going to believe, and they are not going to have a spectacular career. Okay. So this is the career graph of so many people of my contemporaries who are frequently changing jobs around 15 to 20 years ago. Okay. So they will have a very normal career after 15 to 18 years. Okay. So I will take another graph. Are you able to see?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you choose a company. I want a very normal career. I don't want to take any risk in my job. Okay. I want just a very secured job in a big company or a PSU. Okay. I will not keep extra effort. Whatever salary I get, I will take. 10% increment is sufficient. So the career graph goes like this. Okay. So in the initial, you will have some growth. After that, it is a very, very normal growth. Okay. So my first mentor, Dr. J.R.P. Sharma in IICT told me, Prakash, if you are willing to work daily, sincerely, and if you are willing to keep hard work, don't look to work in a big company or a PSU. Okay. So in a PSU, if you work or not, you get increment every 3 years. Okay. In very big companies, I'm doing normal companies. Okay. Family-owned companies in India, Marwadi companies. They are also into big iron and steel manufacturing, chemicals everywhere. So you see a lot of companies. When you go into the company, you don't make big effort. You just have a normal life, good family life, tension-free career. Your career graph will be something like this. Okay. So next graphic I want to show to you. So this one is, if you choose one company, you are continuously learning skills, and you want to build a wonderful career. So if you choose in one company, you will grow really very big with lot of efforts. And the final graph which I have shown is the European way of developing leaders. So by 12 to 15 years, you are business leader in that company, or you have all the skills, wherein at the end of the 5th year, you are guiding 300 people at various levels, in various functions. You are responsible for the profit and loss of the company. So you are really a business leader by 12 to 15 years. These are the 4 career graphs I have made to show to you. Whenever you have questions, I can answer later. Okay. And one more thing I want to show to you is one more simple fundamental how will be analyzed in companies. This is again given by one of my bosses. So whenever you are becoming big in companies, my boss used to tell me, this is how you have to analyze your team members. Okay, first quadrant.
Can you zoom in, sir?
So when you become leaders also, I am telling you this fourth quadrant way of analyzing people in your own teams. Categorize them as high performance, high compliance. They are the ones who are the best to have. You can rely on them. You can diversify your services. You can build big teams. Okay. You should never leave them. You should treat them with respect, with honor, and you have to teach them all the skills, and you have to give them a good career plan so that they will never leave you. Okay. Second quadrant is low performance, high compliance. They follow all the rules. See, without systems, companies cannot grow. Systems are not sufficient. Compliance is also very important. Individual performance is not only important, compliance is also not important. Compliance is also important. So low performance, high compliance. So these are desired, but you have to train them continuously. Always develop people skills. Apart from your technical skills, always develop people skills, which Mr. Sravangar is already doing that in the ESET. Okay. So if you have low performance and high compliance team members in your team, don't leave them. You have to train them continuously. Third quadrant, high performance. These are the individuals who will deliver what is expected of them, but they will not show any respect for the system. Low compliance. You cannot leave them, but there will always be difficult situations, conflicts. Fourth quadrant is low performance, low compliance. They don't perform, they don't comply to system. So these people will destroy the team also. Okay. So you have to leave them compulsorily, even though it is not correct, to safeguard the best interests of your team. So these 4 quadrants, always I request all ESL students, wherever you are, you be in high performance and high compliance category. Wherever you are employed, have respect for the system, perform well, become team member, show that fire so that you will go to the very top. Okay. This is what I wanted to show you.
Thank you, sir. You will be saying a lot of things. You have said a lot more things for this session, and right from your company, your career and your experiences and all your advices through mentor, it has been very great to us. And now I would like to say a vote of thanks for all of the team members and especially Prakash sir for giving us such a good information to all of us. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Any final comments?
So first, to say a big, great thank you to Shravan Garu. So he is the one. He is the basis for ESLA and all you young minds. As we are only doing very small contribution. Only thing is that with whatever concepts Shravan Garu has envisaged for this ESL, all persons, all students should rise to their full potential based on the platform, the objectives of this ESL platform. They have to flourish. That is the only wish. Please, I want to say finally, saying that don't work for money. Money will come automatically. Work for your passion, work for your dreams, and have a wonderful career. Money will come automatically. It will come automatically. Okay. Be a person of values so that everyone, your family, your parents, your immediate society, and persons like Shravan Garu who has created this ESL, they should be satisfied with you. They should be very happy with all of you. That is first great achievement. Once you have that great achievement, you will achieve wonders in life. That's all from me. Thank you very much for your time. So if there is any good things I have told, it all belongs to God and my mentors. If I have not answered your questions, anything, it's my thing. You can blame me for that.
Any final comments from participants before ending the session?
Sir, thank you so much for selflessly sharing all your knowledge and experiences and thoughts.
Thank you, sir. And also, Chandan, I could see how much, like, if the 1.5 hours we spend now is very informative, and I could imagine you are spending almost every week sometime. I can see the essence and how you are getting experience. Congrats, Chandan. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I would say once again, thank you for Prakash sir for spending his lot of time to us and giving his valuable time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So then the session, please. Is it over?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. Thank you, Shravan Garu. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir.